Throughout time, people across the world told each other tales of how they came to be, of heroes and monsters, romance and tragedy, death and rebirth. Mythology helped shape the ancient world, explaining the unexplainable. This is Mythology Unleashed. To our Native American audience, this program contains a segment about a certain evil cannibalistic spirit from Anishinaabe mythology, one that may be upsetting to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Of the 4 seasons that the world endures each year, winter is perhaps the hardest for those living within temperate zones. It is a time of cold, snow, and ice, darkness that encroaches earlier than ever, and a chilling level of unpredictability. Many cultures living in such areas have festivals centered around the winter solstice, a prime example being Christmas in the Western world, a time for love, warmth, and raised spirits. Yet, even with traditions as lighthearted as Christmas, this time of year has led to the creation of a number of monsters and eerie spirits connected to the cold and the darkness of winter. From savage beasts that hunt in blizzards, to spirits that weaponize blistering wind and biting frost, to wicked demonic figures looking to enter your home on Christmas Eve. This program will discuss a handful of the darkest and most chilling monsters of Christmas and winter. The first on our list is called Gryla, the Yuletide monster of Iceland. With roots in the Icelandic sagas, as well as the Prose Edda of Norse mythology, Gryla was described as being a grotesque and wicked ogress who would beg, trick, or otherwise try to trade parents for their children so that she could feast upon them. She could be placated with gifts or bribes, even chased off, but the ogress would always return. According to legend, Gryla once lived in a small hut on the outskirts of an unnamed town, but was driven off by the terrified townsfolk, and thus banished to the wilds of northern Iceland. It is said that Gryla knows if a child has been well behaved throughout the year, and during the celebration of Yule, and later on Christmas, would wander about the countryside, abducting the bad children, the worse behaved the better, shoving them into her sack, and dragging them back to her home. With the prey that she had managed to catch, Gryla would make a stew large enough to carry her through until the next year, when she begins her hunt again. Gryla was also said to have a ferocious animal companion, Yule Cat, the Yule Cat. As the name would suggest, Yule Cat's appearance resembles an ordinary house cat with dark fur and prominent whiskers, albeit one that is gargantuan in size, and who hunts during the time of Yule. Whereas a lot of Christmas and Yule monsters tend to target specifically those who were naughty or unruly, the Yule Cat had a somewhat more unique taste in its prey. The Yule Cat was said to peer into houses on Christmas night. If children had received new clothes, namely socks, the cat would move on. However, if the child did not work hard enough to receive a new pair of socks, the Yule Cat would devour the child as if they were a mouse. Adults were not safe from the cat either, for Yule Cat would happily attack any person it found wandering about after dark, namely drunkards and womanizers. The legend of the Yule Cat began spreading as a way to encourage farmers to finish their work in a timely manner, so that there was enough wool, leather, and other supplies to make clothing for everyone, for parents to convince their children to do their chores, and for children of wealthier families to donate extra pairs of socks and other clothing to less fortunate families, so as to provide protection against the claws and the fangs of the Yule Cat. From Alpine folklore comes Perchta, the Christmas witch. While it is hypothesized that Perchta was at one point a local goddess associated with winter and the cold, the rise of Christianity in Central Europe had cemented Perchta as a cold and frightening figure, sometimes as a beautiful maiden with hair as white as snow, and other times as a hideous hag with a webbed foot akin to the kind common in waterfowl. According to folklorist Jacob Grimm, famous for compiling the Grimm's fairy tales collection with his brother, Perchta would roam about the countryside and enter homes during the 12 nights between Christmas and Epiphany, with an entourage of witches on broomstick, horned demons, and even the shades of unbaptized children following behind her. Knowing whether or not the children and young servants of the household had behaved well and worked hard all year, she would reward the good ones by leaving a small silver coin in one of their shoes or in a pail. But if they were rude, lazy, ill-mannered, or bad-tempered, had not cleaned the home, or had yet to finish spinning flax by the 12th night, the Christmas witch would slit their stomachs open, disembowel them, and stuff the hole with straw, pebbles, and ground-up glass. A truly gruesome act for a truly gruesome holiday monster. But not all winter-based monsters are hideous to behold. Some are rather beautiful in appearance, but no less deadly, and in fact, may even be deadlier. Such is the case for Yuki-onna of Japanese mythology. With a name that means snow woman, some claim that Yuki-onna is an elemental spirit with immense disdain for human life, while others say that she is the ghost of a woman who froze to death or perished in the snow, and consequently seeks vengeance upon the living for her untimely demise. Her origin aside, Yuki-onna is said to be otherworldly in her beauty, with flowing raven hair, ageless skin as white as snow, and piercing violet eyes. Her beauty is one of her primary weapons against men, luring them unknowingly into danger. When a solitary man would approach her, she would drain him of his living energy, either through her ice-cold touch, or blasting them with her frost breath, leaving her victims frozen solid. Should someone manage to fight back, or give her reason to flee, she is said to vanish in a snowy mist, and then reappear almost anywhere. Yuki-onna is a truly chilling yokai, utilizing both the beautiful and deadly sides of winter against her enemies. High up in the Himalayas, where the temperatures regularly drop below freezing, and the winds can blow up to 100 miles per hour, is said to lurk a creature known as the Yeti, also called the Abominable Snowman. With a history that has roots in Himalayan mythology and even Buddhist writings, the Yeti is a large ape-like creature with some notably human-like features such as bipedal locomotion, and possesses an imposing stature with brute strength to match, not unlike Bigfoot or Sasquatch in North American folklore. Generally a reclusive beast, the Yeti is mysterious in nature. Some say it is a peaceful herbivore that avoids others out of fear, while others say that it is an elusive carnivore that preys upon yaks and the occasional unlucky human. For centuries, scientists, hunters, and explorers have set out on expeditions into the mountains, hell-bent on proving the existence of the fabled beast. Though a myriad of strange footprints have been found on occasion, to this day, no concrete evidence of the Yeti's existence has yet been found. If the Yeti truly does exist, it clearly wants to be left alone. The same cannot be said for a creature from the frozen territories of North America, the Wendigo. Hailing from legends of the Anishinaabe people, the Wendigo is a malevolent, cannibalistic supernatural being, often depicted as a human that had been transformed into a monster, gaunt to the point of emaciation, like a skeleton recently disinterred from the grave, with its ash-gray flesh pulled tight over its bones, teeth ground sharp, and digits ending in sharp claw-like points. How a person becomes a Wendigo varies from region to region, with some methods including committing acts of immense greed or selfishness, performing forbidden rituals, dreaming of the Wendigo, being bitten by a Wendigo and surviving, or most commonly, through an act of cannibalism. Regardless of how one becomes a Wendigo, the affected person would be condemned to a cursed life in the forest, endlessly searching for human prey. The Wendigo had uncanny strength despite its emaciated frame, and preternatural speed that belies its great height, and with its enhanced sense of smell, hearing, and sight, paired with boundless stamina, the Wendigo was an unparalleled hunter. The older the Wendigo was, the more powerful it would become, with some stories even saying that the monster had the power to control animals and command the cold, causing blizzards or freezing victims with their touch. The creature's powers and appetite made it a formidable opponent, and some say that once it chose a victim, their prey's likelihood of escape was nigh impossible. Even those who were said to have escaped the grasp of the Wendigo are left in a catatonic state or driven to absolute madness. Our final monster of this program is none other than St. Nicholas's demonic accomplice, Krampus. Hailing from folklore of Central and Eastern Europe, Krampus was depicted as a large half-man, half-goat demon with sharp curved horns and cloven hooves, not unlike popular depictions of the Christian devil or the satyrs of Greek mythology. Additionally, he was said to have unkempt fur as dark as pitch, iron claws, a mouthful of razor-sharp teeth, and a long, pointed tongue, and was adorned with heavy chains that he would rattle for terrifying effect, ominous-sounding bells, and a bundle of rutin with which he would inflict punishment. According to folklore, St. Nicholas and Krampus would travel the region together on the night of December 5th, referred to by Germanic peoples as Krampusnacht, or Krampus Night, visiting the homes of all the children. While well-behaved children would receive gifts from St. Nicholas, a child guilty of mischief, greediness, or other forms of misbehavior would have to answer to Krampus, who punished them with merciless glee. His punishments vary from leaving coal or bundles of rutin in lieu of presents, to mercilessly thrashing, to stuffing them into his sack, dragging them back to his lair in hell, where he would torture them or even eat them. His cruel nature and demonic appearance have led the Catholic Church and other religious groups to try and ban Krampus from Christmas traditions since at least the 12th century. But the legend and traditions of Krampus have endured well into the 21st century, with celebrations and parades taking place in Europe to honor this dark yet fascinating figure of folklore. While Christmas and other winter holidays can be warm, jolly, and bright in spirit, they are not without their fair share of monsters and demons lurking in the shadows and prowling about the snowy landscapes by night. Some are directly tied to Christmas Yule, and other winter festivities, acting as monstrous boogeymen to scare people into decent behavior or into a holiday spirit. Others are simply the monstrous and predatory embodiments of winter at its absolute worst. From Gryla and her Yule Cat, to the Yeti high in the icy mountains, to Yukiona in her snowy forest, to the sadistic Krampus and his fabled cruelty. We invite you all to enjoy your holidays and that your winter season is a joyous one. But be mindful, for the cold frost is not the only thing that bites.